My beloved soul, pause for a moment. This is not just another message you casually stumbled upon. This is not a coincidence, and it is certainly not something you can afford to ignore. Right now, in this very second, something sacred is unfolding around you. You may not see it with your physical eyes, but in the spiritual realm, there is movement, there is urgency, there is a call being released with your name on it. I, Archangel Michael, come before you with a message that has been held back until this exact moment. A message that could change everything for you, your path, your peace, your connection with the divine. And hear this clearly, this is not a gentle whisper. This is a final warning from heaven. There is a reason your heart feels slightly uneasy right now. There is a reason something within you told you to stop scrolling, to listen, to stay. That feeling, that quiet pull, that is not random. That is God reaching through the noise of your life, trying one last time to bring you back closer. You have been drifting slowly, quietly, almost without realizing it. Life became busy, distractions grew louder, and little by little, the connection you once felt with God started to fade. Not because God left you, no, never that. But because the world around you began to take up the space where His presence once lived so strongly within you. And now, heaven is intervening. This moment you are in right now, it is not ordinary. It had been orchestrated with divine precision. Every second, every choice, every step that led you here was guided. Because God has been waiting patiently, lovingly, watching as you wandered, hoping you would turn back on your own. But time is not endless in moments like this. There comes a point when the call becomes urgent, when the whispers turn into a clear and undeniable voice. And that is where you are right now. This is that moment, the final call before something shifts in a way that cannot easily be undone. If you feel resistance, if a part of you is already thinking about leaving, about skipping ahead, about dismissing this, understand this truth, that resistance is not coming from your spirit. It is coming from the very forces that have been keeping you distant, keeping you distracted, keeping you disconnected. They do not want you to hear this. Because the moment you truly listen, the moment you truly understand, everything can change. Heaven is not trying to scare you. This is not about fear. This is about love that refuses to give up on you. A love so deep, so relentless, that even now, after everything, you are being called back. But listen carefully, this window will not remain open forever. There are moments in life that define everything that comes after. Moments where a single decision to listen or to turn away shapes your entire spiritual path. This is one of those moments. God is waiting for you. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Right now. And if you walk away from this call, if you choose to ignore what is being placed right in front of you, you risk losing something far more valuable than you realize. A connection that once lost becomes harder and harder to find again. So stay. Listen. Because what you are about to hear next may be the very thing that brings you back home. There was a time when you felt it so clearly, that closeness, that warmth, that quiet assurance that God was near. You didn't have to question it. You didn't have to search for it. It simply lived within you, like a steady flame that never flickered, no matter how dark the world around you became. But something changed, not all at once, not in a way that startled you awake. It happened slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. You didn't wake up one day and decide to drift away. That is not how separation begins. It starts in the smallest ways, moments you barely notice. A prayer you thought you would say later but never did. A whisper in your heart that you chose to ignore because life felt too heavy, too busy, too overwhelming. A gentle nudge that you pushed aside telling yourself you would come back to it when things settled down. But things never truly settled, did they? Instead, the noise grew louder. Responsibilities multiplied. Worries crept in. And without realizing it, the space that once belonged to God began to fill with everything else. Not because you stopped caring, but because the world became so demanding that your spirit was left waiting in the background. Archangel Michael sees this clearly, and he wants you to understand something deeply important. You were never abandoned. Not for a single moment. Even in your silence, even in your distance, God remained exactly where He has always been. Close, present, watching over you with unwavering love. But connection requires response. Imagine standing at the edge of a quiet shore, calling out to someone you love who is just across the water. You can see them. You can hear faint echoes of their voice. But if you stop responding, if you turn away, if you allow distractions to pull your attention elsewhere, that connection begins to weaken. Not because the other person has left, but because the exchange, the relationship, had been interrupted. That is what has happened between you and God. It was not a sudden break. It was a gradual fading, a slow dimming of something that once felt so alive. And the most dangerous part of this kind of distance is that it can begin to feel normal. You adapt to it. You learn to live without that constant sense of divine presence. You tell yourself that this is just how life is now. But deep down there is a quiet emptiness, isn't there? A feeling you cannot fully explain. A sense that something is missing, even when everything around you seems fine. That is not your imagination. That is your spirit remembering what it once had and longing for it again. There were moments, many of them, when God tried to reach you through that emptiness, through that subtle ache in your heart, through those unexpected thoughts that told you to pause, to reflect, to return. But each time, something pulled you away. A distraction, a doubt, a voice that whispered, "You can do this later." And so, later kept getting pushed further and further away. Until now. This moment you are in is not just another passing reflection. It is a divine interruption to the pattern you have been living in. A moment where heaven is gently but firmly stepping in to say, enough distance, enough silence, enough waiting. Archangel Michael is not here to condemn you. There is no judgment in this message. Only truth. Only clarity. Only a deep desire to bring you back into alignment with what your soul has been craving all along. Because the truth is you were never created to live disconnected from God. That connection is not optional for your spirit. It is essential. It is the source of your peace, your clarity, your strength. And without it, everything else begins to feel heavier, more confusing, more uncertain. You may have learned to carry that weight. You may have grown used to navigating life on your own. But that was never the life meant for you. God hath been waiting not with anger, not with disappointment, but with open arms and a patient heart, waiting for the moment when you would pause long enough to hear His call again. And now, you are hearing it. The distance you feel is not permanent. It is not too late, but it is real, and it must be acknowledged before it can be healed. Because what comes next will reveal the signs you were never meant to overlook. There were signs more than you can remember, more than you allowed yourself to notice. They were not loud, not overwhelming, not impossible to understand. In fact, they were simple, gentle, and deeply personal. But that is exactly why they were so easy to overlook. Archangel Michael speaks now with clarity, not to accuse you, but to awaken you. Because the truth is, heaven has been reaching out to you for far longer than you realize. Long before this moment, long before this message, there were quiet signals placed along your path, small divine interruptions meant to guide you back. Do you remember those moments when everything suddenly felt still, as if time slowed down just enough for you to feel something deeper? Those unexpected pauses where your heart felt heavy for no clear reason, or when a thought appeared out of nowhere telling you to pray, to reflect, to return. Those were not random. Those were invitations. There were also times when things did not go the way you planned. Doors that closed unexpectedly. Paths that seemed right but suddenly fell apart. You may have felt frustration, confusion, even disappointment. But what if those moments were not setbacks? What if they were protection? What if God was redirecting you, trying to pull you away from something that would have taken you even further from Him? You were never meant to walk blindly. You were being guided, even in your uncertainty. And then there were the deeper signs, the ones that touched your spirit in ways you could not ignore completely. The dreams that felt too real to dismiss. The repeated messages that seemed to follow you, showing up in different forms, through different voices, yet carrying the same meaning. The quiet inner voice that spoke truth, even when you tried to silence it. That voice was never your imagination. It was the presence of God within you, gently calling you back. But every time you hesitated, every time you chose to wait, every time you allowed doubt or distraction to take over, the connection weakened just a little more. Not broken, never destroyed, but dimmed. And over time, those signs became easier to ignore, easier to dismiss as coincidence or overthinking. Yet here is what you must understand right now. God does not stop reaching out after a few missed chances. His love is not limited. His patience is not fragile. He continues to call, again and again, in ways both seen and unseen. This message you are hearing now, it is not the first sign. It is the culmination of all the signs that came before it. Every ignored nudge, every delayed response, every moment you told yourself later, they have all led to this exact point. A moment where the message can no longer be subtle, where the call can no longer be quiet. Archangel Michael stands as a protector, but also as a messenger of truth. And the truth is this: the signs you missed were not insignificant. They were lifelines. They were opportunities to return before the distance grew too great. But even now, even after everything, you are still being given another chance. That alone should tell you how deeply you are loved. Do not let this moment become another missed sign. Do not let this message become something you look back on with regret, wishing you had listened more closely, responded more fully, acted more sincerely. Because there is a shift happening right now, something spiritual, something profound. And your response to this moment matters more than you can fully understand. Feel the weight of that truth, but do not fear it. Let it awaken you. Let it bring clarity to everything that once felt uncertain. Because you are not here by accident. You are here because heaven refused to let you drift any further without one final call back home. So listen with your heart open. Receive this message without resistance. And prepare yourself for what is being revealed next. If this is speaking directly to your spirit, type "I receive the call" in the comments. Blessing code 3917 has just been released over your life. And as this divine message reaches deeper into your soul, understand this sacred truth. When you respond to a call like this, you are not just changing your own life. You are becoming a vessel through which God can reach others. As it is written, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over." This is not just a verse. It is God speaking directly to your moment. I feel led to say this. I am choosing to be part of God's work. If this message has touched you, If you feel something awakening inside, this is your moment to act. Through your super thanks or a direct PayPal donation, you are helping these messages travel further, reaching souls who are still lost, still searching, still waiting for their moment of awakening. The PayPal link is in the description of every video, and you can also use the QR code on the screen. Do not delay what your spirit is urging you to do. Sow into this mission as an act of faith, and watch how God multiplies it back into your life in ways you never expected. There is something you must understand now, something that will change the way you see everything you have been going through. What you thought was just stress, just bad timing, just life being difficult was not only that. Beneath the surface, beyond what your physical eyes could see, there has been a battle unfolding around you. Not a battle of flesh and blood, but a spiritual one. Archangel Michael stands as a warrior of light, and he reveals this truth not to frighten you, but to awaken your awareness. Because the moment you understand the nature of this battle, you begin to reclaim the power you didn't even realize you had. You see, the distance you felt from God was not something that happened in isolation. It was influenced, shaped, and quietly encouraged by forces that thrive on disconnection. Forces that do not want you to feel close to God. Forces that benefit when you are distracted, confused, and spiritually asleep. Think about the patterns in your life. The moments when you wanted to pray, but suddenly felt too tired. The times when you intended to reconnect, but something always came up. The subtle thoughts that told you, you're too far gone, or you can do it later. Those thoughts felt like your own, but they were not rooted in truth. Because God never tells you that you are too far gone. That voice, the one that pulls you away, that delays your return, that fills your mind with doubt and hesitation, that is part of the battle. And it has been working quietly, consistently, trying to keep you exactly where you are, disconnected. But here is the truth that changes everything. You were never defenseless in this battle. You were simply unaware of it. Archangel Michael has been near you, even in moments you felt completely alone. Standing guard, protecting you from things you never saw, holding back darkness that you never knew was there. There were situations that could have gone far worse, paths that could have led you into deeper confusion, but you were preserved. Not by chance, but by divine protection. However, protection alone is not the end goal. You were not meant to simply survive this battle. You were meant to rise above it, to step into awareness, to actively reclaim your connection with God. And that is where you are now. The reason this message feels intense, the reason it feels urgent, is because the battle has reached a turning point. The moment you begin to truly understand what has been happening, the moment you recognize the patterns and the distractions for what they are, their power over you begins to weaken. Darkness cannot remain where there is awareness. The distractions that once felt overwhelming begin to lose their grip. The doubts that once felt convincing begin to sound hollow. And the connection that once felt distant begins to call you back with clarity and strength. But you must make a choice. Because in every battle, there is a moment where you either remain passive or you step forward with intention. You cannot stay in between forever. You cannot remain unaware now that the truth has been revealed to you. Archangel Michael is not asking you to fight alone. He is not expecting you to suddenly have all the strength, all the answers, all the clarity. What is being asked of you is much simpler, yet far more powerful. Awareness, willingness, response. The moment you become aware of the battle, you stop being an easy target. The moment you become willing to reconnect, you open the door for divine strength to flow into your life again. And the moment you respond, truly respond, everything begins to shift. You may have felt overwhelmed before, unsure of why things felt so heavy, so unclear, so distant. But now you know. Now you can see that it was not just life happening randomly. There was a deeper layer, a spiritual influence that needed to be recognized. And now that it has been revealed, it cannot hold the same power over you again. This is not the end of the battle, but it is the beginning of your victory. Because the greatest advantage you have now is truth. And with truth comes light. And with light comes the path back to God that has been waiting for you all along. There have been other moments in your life when you felt a pull towards something greater. Moments when you paused, reflected, and even considered returning fully to God. You may have told yourself, "I'll start fresh tomorrow," or "I just need the right time." And for a while, that felt reasonable. It felt like you had time, like the opportunity would always be there when you were ready. But this moment is not like those moments. This is not just another passing feeling or temporary realization. There is a weight to this moment that is different. There is a depth to what you are feeling right now that cannot be ignored or postponed without consequence. And Archangel Michael needs you to understand why. Because this is a divine appointment. This moment has been set apart. It has been aligned in a way that goes beyond your plans, beyond your timing, beyond what you think you are ready for. It is not based on convenience. It is based on necessity. Heaven does not interrupt without purpose, and it does not send a message like this without urgency. You may feel it in your spirit, that quiet intensity, that sense that something is shifting, something is being asked of you right now. That feeling is not pressure. It is alignment. It is the moment where everything that has been building within you finally reaches the surface. All the signs you ignored, all the nudges you delayed, all the moments you said later, they have led here. And now, there is no more later. Archangel Michael reveals that there are spiritual windows in life, moments when the connection between heaven and your soul becomes especially open, especially active. In these moments, your response carries greater weight. Your choices echo deeper. Your willingness to listen creates a ripple effect that can change the direction of your life. This is one of those windows. It is not permanent. It does not remain open indefinitely. And that is why this moment matters so much. You are not being rushed without reason. You are being called because the opportunity in front of you is powerful, but also time-sensitive. The longer you delay, the more that clarity begins to fade again, the more distractions begin to return, and the easier it becomes to slip back into the same patterns that created the distance in the first place. That is why this moment feels different, because it is asking for a decision, not just awareness. In the past, you may have listened to messages like this and felt inspired for a short time, only to return to your routine without making a real change. But this time, something inside you is resisting that pattern. Something within you is saying, "This is not the same." And you are right. This is not about temporary inspiration. This is about transformation. Archangel Michael is not here to simply remind you of God's presence. He is here to guide you back into it fully, to help you step out of the cycle of distance and delay and into a place of intentional connection. But transformation requires action. It requires a moment where you stop observing and start responding. A moment where you no longer treat your spiritual life as something you will fix later, but as something you choose right now. You may feel unprepared. You may feel like you are not ready to fully return, that there are things in your life you still need to sort out first. But understand this: readiness is not what God is waiting for. Willingness is. God does not ask you to come back perfect. He asks you to come back open, to come back honest, to come back as you are, in this very moment, without delay, without excuses, without fear of being rejected. Because you will not be rejected. This moment is different because it is not about what you have done or how far you have drifted. It is about what you choose now. It is about the direction you decide to take from this point forward. Archangel Michael stands at this turning point with you, not to force your decision, but to make the path clear. One path leads back to connection, peace, and alignment with God. The other leads further into distance, distraction, and spiritual silence. There is no neutral ground anymore. And that may feel intense, but it is also a gift. Because clarity like this removes confusion. It gives you the power to choose with full awareness of what is at stake. This moment, this exact moment, is different because it carries the weight of a decision that will shape what comes next in your life. Not out of fear, but out of truth. And the truth is you are being given an opportunity right now that your soul has been waiting for. Do not treat it like any other moment, because it is not. There is a truth that must be spoken now, not to frighten you, but to ground you in reality. Because love does not hide what matters most. Love reveals it, even when it feels heavy to hear. And Archangel Michael speaks this with deep compassion, but also with unwavering clarity. Ignoring this call will not leave things as they are. It will change something within you. You may think that walking away from this moment simply means returning to your normal routine, continuing life as it was before. But that is not entirely true. Because once truth has reached you, once your spirit has been stirred like this, you cannot fully go back to being unaware. Something shifts the moment you hear a call like this. If you choose to ignore it, the shift does not disappear. Instead, it becomes something quieter, something buried beneath your daily life. A subtle awareness that you turned away from something important. At first, it may not feel like much. You may distract yourself, fill your time, move forward as if nothing happened. But over time, that quiet awareness grows. It becomes a gentle unrest within you. A feeling that something is not aligned, not settled, not complete. You may not always be able to name it, but you will feel it in moments of stillness, in the silence before sleep, in the pauses between your thoughts. A whisper that reminds you, you were called and you did not respond. This is not punishment. This is the natural consequence of disconnection. Because your spirit was created to be in relationship with God. When that connection is ignored, it does not simply vanish without impact. It leaves a space, a gap that nothing else can truly fill. You may try to fill it with success, with relationships, with distractions, with achievements. And for a time, those things may seem to satisfy you. But deep within, there will always be something missing. Something that cannot be replaced by anything in this world. That missing piece is your connection with God. Archangel Michael wants you to understand that the longer this disconnection continues, the more normal it begins to feel. Not because it is right, but because you adapt to it. You learn to live without the clarity, the peace, the guidance that once came so naturally. And that is where the real danger lies. Not in a sudden loss, but in a gradual acceptance of distance. You begin to settle for less than what your soul was created for. You begin to navigate life relying only on your own understanding, your own strength, your own limited perspective. And while you may manage, while you may even succeed in certain areas, there will always be a deeper level of peace and purpose that remains out of reach. Because it is found only in connection with God. Ignoring this call also makes it harder to respond to the next one. Not because God stops calling, but because your sensitivity to His voice becomes weaker. Each time you choose not to listen, it becomes easier to dismiss the next invitation. Easier to delay. easier to convince yourself that it can wait. Until one day you barely notice the call at all. That is what it means to risk losing the connection. Not that God disappears, but that your awareness of Him fades to the point where you no longer respond, no longer seek, no longer feel that same pull. And that is not the life meant for you. You were not created to walk through life disconnected from your source. You were not meant to carry everything on your own, to make every decision without divine guidance, to face every challenge without spiritual strength. This call right now is an opportunity to prevent that outcome. It is a moment where you can choose differently, where you can recognize the importance of what is being offered to you and respond with intention instead of delay. Archangel Michael does not bring this message to condemn you for what has already happened. The past is not the focus here. What matters is this moment, this decision, this opportunity to return before the distance becomes something you simply learn to live with. Because once you accept disconnection as normal, it becomes much harder to break free from it. But you are not there yet. You are here. You are aware. You are being given a chance to choose again. So do not take this lightly. Do not push it aside, thinking you will come back to it later. Because later is what created the distance in the first place. This moment is asking for something simple, yet powerful, your response. And what you choose now will shape everything that follows. Even after everything, after the distance, the silence, the delays, the moments when you turned away, there is something you must hear now with absolute clarity. God has not given up on you. Not once. Not for a single moment did His love for you weaken. Not for a second did He decide that you were too far gone, too distracted, too lost to return. The thought, the one that tells you it might be too late, that you have done too much, that you have waited too long, the thought does not come from God, because God does not withdraw His love when you drift. He waits, patiently, quietly, faithfully. Archangel Michael brings this truth to you now because your heart needs to receive it before you can fully move forward. You cannot return to a place you believe has been closed to you. You cannot reconnect if you feel unworthy of connection. And so, this must be made clear. The door has never been shut from God's side. It has always remained open. Imagine a light that has been left on for you, no matter how long you have been away, no matter how far you wandered, no matter how many times you chose another path. That light never went out. It continued to shine, steady and unwavering, waiting for the moment you would look up and find your way back. That is how God has been with you. There were moments when you felt completely alone, when it seemed like no one understood what you were going through. Moments when your thoughts became heavy, when your heart felt tired, when you questioned your direction, your purpose, even your worth. In those moments, you may have believed that God was distant, but He was not. He was closer than you realized, watching over you, protecting you in ways you could not see, holding you together when you felt like you were falling apart. There were things you were spared from that you will never fully know, situations that could have broken you, but somehow did not, paths that could have led you deeper into confusion, but were quietly redirected. That was not luck. That was grace. Archangel Michael has stood guard in your life more times than you can count, sent by God to protect, to guide, to intervene when necessary. Even when you were not consciously seeking help, help was being given. Even when you were not praying, you were being heard. Because your connection with God was never completely lost. It was weakened, yes. It was quiet, yes. But it was never destroyed. And that is why this moment is possible. That is why you are able to hear this message, to feel something stirring within you, to sense that there is still a path back. If the connection had been completely severed, you would not feel this pull. You would not feel this awareness. You would not feel this desire to understand, to return, to reconnect. What you do. And that is the proof that God hath been holding on to you, even when you felt like you were slipping away. There is no anger in this message. There is no rejection waiting for you. What waits for you is something far greater: mercy, compassion, and a love that has never changed. God is not asking you to explain your absence. He is inviting you to end it. He is not demanding perfection. He is asking for presence. He is not reminding you of your failures. He is calling you back into relationship. Archangel Michael wants you to feel the weight of that invitation, but also the comfort within it. Because returning to God is not meant to feel like a burden. It is meant to feel like coming home after being away for too long. There may be hesitation within you, a part of you that wonders if you are truly ready, if you can truly change, if you can truly stay connected this time. But understand this: you do not have to have everything figured out before you return. You simply have to take the first step. God will meet you there. He will not stand at a distance, waiting for you to prove yourself. He will come closer the moment you open your heart, the moment you make the decision to turn back, even if that decision feels small or uncertain. Because to God it is not small, it is everything. This is the truth that changes the direction of your story. You are not being called back to something that has rejected you. You are being called back to something that has been waiting for you with open arms. And no matter how far you think you have gone, one step toward God closes that distance more than you can imagine. So do not let shame hold you back. Do not let doubt convince you that this invitation is not for you. It is. It always has been. And right now it still is. There is a sacred tension in this moment, something both comforting and urgent at the same time. On one hand, you are being shown that the door is still open, that no matter how far you have drifted, no matter how long you have been away, the path back to God has not been closed. But on the other hand, there is a truth that must not be ignored. This door will not remain open forever in the way it is right now. Archangel Michael speaks with both compassion and authority here, because this is where many people misunderstand divine timing. They assume that because God is patient, the opportunity to return will always feel this clear, this strong, this undeniable. But that is not how spiritual moments work. There are seasons and there are windows, and you are standing in one of those windows right now. This is not just about whether you can return to God someday. Of course you can. God's love does not disappear. But the intensity of this call, the clarity you are feeling, the deep awareness stirring within your spirit, this is something specific to this moment. It is a heightened opportunity, a divine opening where everything is aligned for your return. And if you ignore it, that clarity will begin to fade. Not instantly, not in a dramatic way, but slowly. The distractions will come back. The urgency you feel right now will soften. The voice that is speaking so clearly to your heart will become quieter again. And what feels undeniable in this moment may start to feel distant, like something you always understood but did not fully grasp. That is why this is not just an invitation. It is a decision point. Archangel Michael is not here to pressure you, but to make you aware of the weight of this moment. Because awareness gives you power. It allows you to choose with full understanding, rather than drifting back into old patterns without realizing what you are leaving behind. The door is open, but it is asking for your response. Think of it like standing at the entrance of a place you have been longing to return to. The door is not locked. There is nothing physically stopping you from stepping inside. But you still have to make the choice to walk forward. You still have to leave behind whatever has been keeping you outside. And that is where many hesitate. Not because they do not want to return, but because returning requires letting go. Letting go of distractions. Letting go of habits that created distance. Letting go of the comfort of staying the same. But what you gain is far greater than what you leave behind. You gain clarity where there was confusion. You gain peace where there was unrest. You gain direction where there was uncertainty. And most importantly, you regain the connection that your soul has been longing for all along. Archangel Michael wants you to feel both the hope and the urgency in this moment. Hope because you are not too late. Urgency because this is not something to delay. You have delayed before. You have told yourself later before. And you have seen where that led. This time must be different. Because this time, you are not unaware. This time, you are not just feeling a vague sense that something is missing. You are being shown clearly what that something is and how to return to it. Do not let this moment pass as just another emotional experience. Do not let it become something you remember briefly and then move on from. Anchor yourself in it. Respond to it. Allow it to lead you into action. Because the door is open right now in a way that is powerful, intentional, and filled with divine purpose. But it will not always feel this way. Archangel Michael stands at this threshold with you, not to force your step, but to remind you that the opportunity before you is real, that the connection you seek is within reach, that the return you have been postponing is available right now, and all it requires is your decision to step forward. If you feel this truth deep within your spirit, type "I step through the door" in the comments. Blessing code 8421 is now activated over your life. And as you stand at this open door, hear this. When you choose to act in alignment with God's call, you also become part of something greater than yourself. Scripture declares, "Those who sow in faith will reap in abundance." And this is not just written, it is alive, speaking into this very moment. I am stepping forward in faith. If this message has touched your heart, if you feel the urgency and truth within it, now is the time to act beyond just listening. Through your super thanks or a direct PayPal donation, you help carry this message to others who are standing at their own door, waiting for clarity, waiting for a sign. The PayPal link is in every video description, and the QR code is available on your screen. Do not hesitate in what your spirit is urging you to do. Sow into this mission as an act of obedience, and trust that what you release in faith will return to you multiplied in ways only God can orchestrate. Now that you stand at this threshold, fully aware, fully awakened to what is being placed before you, there comes a question that cannot be avoided any longer. What do you do next? Because awareness without action changes nothing. You have felt the call. You have recognized the distance. You have seen the signs, understood the battle, and realized the urgency of this moment. But none of that transforms your life until you take a step. A real, intentional, undeniable step toward God. Archangel Michael speaks with clarity here, because this is where many people hesitate. They feel deeply. They understand intellectually, but they remain still. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect feeling, the perfect circumstances. But that moment is already here. The step you must take is not complicated. It is not something reserved for the spiritually perfect or the deeply experienced. It is simple, but it is powerful. And it begins with a decision made in your heart. A decision to return. Not partially, not temporarily, but sincerely. Right now, in this very moment, you are being invited to turn your attention back to God. Not later today, not after you finish everything else, but now. Even as you listen to these words, you can begin. Close your eyes for a moment if you can. Take a breath, and in the quiet space within you, speak honestly. You do not need perfect words. You do not need a formal prayer. You simply need truth. Say, God, I am here. I am returning. I may not have everything figured out, but I choose you now. That is the step. It may seem small, almost too simple, but do not underestimate it. Because in the spiritual realm, that moment of sincerity creates a shift. It opens a channel. It signals your willingness to reconnect. And the moment you take that step, God responds. Not with delay, not with hesitation, but immediately. Archangel Michael wants you to understand that this is not about performing a ritual or following a strict formula. This is about relationship. It is about reconnecting with the one who has been waiting for you, not demanding perfection, but desiring presence. From that one step, everything else begins to follow. Your awareness deepens. Your desire to stay connected grows stronger. The distractions that once felt overwhelming begin to lose their hold. And slowly, steadily, your life begins to realign with something greater than yourself. But it all starts here, with this moment, with this choice. You may feel resistance even now. A part of you might be saying, I will do this later, or I need more time. But recognize that voice for what it is. It is the same voice that has delayed you before, the same pattern that created the distance in the first place. Do not listen to it this time. Break the cycle. Choose differently. Because the power of this moment lies in your willingness to act now, not later. Archangel Michael stands beside you, not as a distant figure, but as a present guide, encouraging you to take this step with confidence. You are not alone in this. You are supported, protected, and seen. And more importantly, you are welcomed. There is no hesitation on God's side. There is no questioning of whether you deserve to return. That has already been settled. The invitation has already been given. The door has already been opened. All that remains is your step. Do not overthink it. Do not complicate it. Do not wait for a feeling that may never come in a perfect form. Just begin. Speak to God. Open your heart. Acknowledge where you are, and express your desire to come back into alignment. That sincerity, no matter how simple it feels, is enough to start the transformation. Because once you take that step, you are no longer standing outside. You are moving forward. You are reconnecting. You are returning. And that single act of choosing God again has the power to change everything that follows in your life. So take the step now. Not tomorrow. Not later. Now. The moment you take that step, something begins to change within you. Not always in a loud or dramatic way, but in a deep, steady, undeniable way. It is like a shift in the foundation of your soul, something realigning after being out of place for far too long. Archangel Michael wants you to understand what awaits you on the other side of that decision, because this is not just about returning to God. It is about becoming who you were always meant to be. At first, the transformation may feel subtle, a sense of calm where there was once tension, a quiet peace that settles over your thoughts, even if your external circumstances have not yet changed. You may notice that the constant noise in your mind begins to soften, that the confusion you once carried starts to clear. This is not coincidence. This is what happens when your spirit reconnects with its source. the weight you have been carrying, the stress, the overthinking, the silent pressure to figure everything out on your own, begins to lift. Not because all your problems disappear instantly, but because you are no longer carrying them alone. There's a difference between facing life by yourself and facing it with God beside you. And that difference changes everything. Archangel Michael reveals that one of the first transformations you will experience is clarity. Decisions that once felt overwhelming will begin to feel simpler. Not always easy, but clear. You will start to sense direction again, a knowing within you that gently guides your choices. This is the restoration of divine guidance in your life. You were never meant to navigate everything through logic alone. You were meant to be led, to be guided by something higher, something wiser, something that sees beyond what you can currently understand. And as that guidance returns, so does your confidence. Not the kind of confidence rooted in ego or control, but a quiet, steady confidence that comes from knowing you are not alone, that you are being supported, that even when you do not have all the answers, you are moving in the right direction. Another transformation you will begin to notice is a shift in your desires. Things that once distracted you may no longer hold the same power. Habits that once pulled you away may begin to feel less appealing. And in their place, a new desire grows, a desire for peace, for truth, for connection, for alignment with God. This is not something you force. It happens naturally when your spirit is nourished again. Archangel Michael also wants you to be aware that transformation is not always comfortable. There may be moments when you are asked to let go of things that no longer serve you. Relationships, patterns, environments that contributed to your distance may come into question. But this is not loss. This is refinement. It is the process of removing what stands in the way of your connection so that what is real, what is lasting, what is aligned with your purpose can take its place. And through all of this, there is a deeper transformation happening, one that goes beyond your circumstances, beyond your thoughts, beyond your daily life. Your identity begins to shift. You no longer see yourself as someone disconnected, someone uncertain, someone wandering without direction. You begin to see yourself as someone chosen, someone guided, someone connected to something greater. Because that is who you truly are. Archangel Michael reminds you that this transformation is not about becoming someone new. It is about returning to who you have always been, beneath the distractions, beneath the distance, beneath the noise of the world. And that version of you is strong, clear, and deeply connected to God. There will still be challenges. There will still be moments of doubt, moments where you feel tested. But the difference is you will face those moments from a place of connection, not separation. And that changes how you experience everything. What once overwhelmed you will begin to strengthen you. What once confused you will begin to teach you. What once felt heavy will begin to shake you into someone more grounded, more aware, more aligned. This is the transformation that awaits you. Not perfection, but alignment. Not a life without difficulty, but a life with deeper peace, clear direction, and a stronger connection to God. And it all begins with the step you have just been called to take. You are not stepping into something uncertain. You are stepping into something prepared for you, something that has been waiting patiently for your return. And now that you have chosen to move forward, that transformation is already beginning. There is something deeply important you must understand about this very moment, something that goes beyond everything you have heard so far. This message did not reach you by accident. You were not randomly scrolling, randomly listening, randomly pausing here. There is intention behind this. There is purpose behind this. You were chosen to hear this message, not because you are perfect, not because you have done everything right, but because, even in your distance, even in your silence, there is something within you that still responds to God's call. Something within you that has not been extinguished, no matter how much life has tried to cover it. Archangel Michael reveals this truth so that you stop seeing yourself as just another listener, just another person passing through. You are not here by chance. Out of countless distractions, countless voices, countless moments where you could have gone in a different direction, you are here, right now, hearing this. That is not random. That is divine alignment. There are many who are still lost in the noise, still unaware, still completely disconnected without even realizing it. But you were brought to a place of awareness, a place where you could hear, understand, and respond. That is what it means to be chosen. It is not about status. It is not about being above anyone else. It is about being reached and being given the opportunity to respond. And with that opportunity comes responsibility. Not in a heavy or burdensome way, but in a meaningful, purposeful way. Because once you are aware, once you have been called like this, your life is no longer meant to be lived unconsciously. You are no longer meant to drift through your days without direction, without intention, without connection. You have been awakened for a reason. Archangel Michael wants you to see that your story is not over. In fact, in many ways, it is just beginning. Everything you have experienced up until this point, the confusion, the distance, the searching, the moments of doubt, they were not wasted. They were preparation. They shape your perspective. They deepen your understanding. They brought you to a place where this message could reach you in a way that it might not have before. And now, because you have heard this, you have a choice. To return, yes, but also to become someone who does not just reconnect with God, but who carries that connection into the world. Someone who lives with awareness, who recognizes when God is speaking, who responds with intention instead of delay. Because your life has purpose beyond what you can currently see. There are people you will encounter, moments you will step into, situations where your presence will matter in ways you do not yet understand. And your connection with God will shape how you show up in those moments. That is why this message reached you, not just for your own peace, but for something greater. Archangel Michael reminds you that being chosen does not mean the path will always be easy. There will still be challenges. There will still be moments where you are tested, where you are tempted to fall back into old patterns. But now you will recognize those moments. Now you will not be unaware. And that awareness gives you strength. It allows you to pause, to reflect, to choose differently. It allows you to stay aligned, even when things around you feel uncertain. Because you will remember this moment. You will remember that you were called, that you were reached, that you were given a chance to return and to move forward with purpose. Do not take that lightly. Do not dismiss it as something small. This is significant. This is a turning point. And the fact that you are still here, still listening, still open is proof that something within you is ready to step into a deeper connection, ready to live with greater awareness, ready to embrace the purpose that has been waiting for you. Archangel Michael stands with you in this realization, not to overwhelm you, but to affirm what is already true. You were meant to hear this. You were meant to be here. And what you do with this moment will shape what comes next in ways you may not fully see yet. But trust this. You are not here by accident. You are here because you were chosen to respond. Beloved soul, everything has led to this moment. Not by accident, not by chance, but by divine design. You have heard the call. You have felt the stirring within your spirit. You have recognized the distance, the signs, the battle, the urgency, and the truth that has been gently but firmly placed before you. And now you stand at the most important point of all, a moment of return. Archangel Michael speaks to you now not with urgency, but with peace, not with intensity, but with deep reassurance. Because what lies before you is not something to fear, it is something to receive. God is not waiting for you with judgment. He is waiting with open arms. There is no list of your past mistakes being held against you. There is no moment where you must prove your worth before being accepted again. That is not how divine love works. God does not measure your return by how far you wandered. He receives your return by the sincerity of your heart. And right now your heart is open. You may feel it, a quiet softening within you, a release of the tension you have been holding, a sense that, despite everything, you are still welcome, that you can still come back, not as someone who has everything figured out, but as someone who is ready to begin again. That is all that is required. Archangel Michael stands beside you as a witness to this sacred moment, a moment where you are not just hearing words, but experiencing a shift within your soul, a moment where heaven is not distant, but closer than it has felt in a long time. Let yourself receive that closeness. Do not resist it. Do not question it. Just allow it. Take a breath right now, and in your own way, in your own words, say it again. God, I am here. I return to you. Feel the simplicity of that. Feel the power within it. Because in that moment, something eternal responds. Something beyond what your eyes can see begins to move. A connection that once felt distant begins to restore, not slowly, not reluctantly, but immediately. This is the embrace you have been missing. Not something complicated, not something unreachable, but something real, something present, something alive. And as you stand in this moment, understand this truth. You did not lose everything. You did not drift beyond recovery. You were called back and you answered. That is what matters. From this point forward, your path is not the same. You will still live your life, face your challenges, walk through your days, but you will not do it disconnected anymore. You will do it with a renewed awareness, a restored connection, and a deeper sense of peace guiding you. Archangel Michael will continue to stand with you, to protect you, to guide you when you feel uncertain. And God will continue to walk with you, just as He always has, but now in a way you can feel again. This is not the end of something. This is the beginning of a life lived in connection, the beginning of a relationship restored, the beginning of a peace that does not depend on circumstances, but on something far greater. To rest in this moment. Let it settle within you. Let it remind you that no matter how far you go, you are never beyond the reach of God's love. And now you are no longer distant. You are home. If you feel this peace, this return, this connection awakening within you, type I have returned in the comments. Blessing code 9903 is now sealing this moment over your life. And as this sacred return settles into your spirit, hear this calling clearly. This is not just your restoration. It is also a doorway for others. God says to you, as you have received freely, now release freely, and I will cause rivers to flow from your obedience. This is a living word, speaking directly into what you do next. I am answering God's call through my giving. When you sow into this mission through super thanks or a PayPal donation, you are not just supporting a channel. You are becoming a vessel that carries this light into the lives of others who are still waiting for their moment to return. Every seed you plant becomes a voice that reaches the lost, a light that breaks through someone's darkness. The PayPal link is in every video description, and the QR code is right before you. Do not delay this act of obedience. Step into it now, as a prophetic response to what God has done in your life today. And as you give, may heaven open over you, may your life overflow with peace, and may every seed you sow return to you multiplied beyond what you can imagine.